All right, we will call to order the Park Board meeting, City of Brainerd, City Hall, here at Council Chambers, Tuesday, July 26, 2022, 4 o'clock p.m. Kim, will you please call the roll?
Tim Boder,
Yes.
Kara Schaefer, Andrew Scheip,
Here.
Kevin Yeager,
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance. Would anyone like to volunteer to start?
I can.
All right, very good, thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Scheib. All right, so got an agenda in front of us. I'm looking for an approval or an amendment to the agenda.
Move to approve, Scheip.
We got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Hearing any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. We got an agenda. Consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters listed in the are considered routine by the board and will be enacted on by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless these items, unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion. This includes approval of the minutes, approval of disbursements, and the financial reports. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
And I do, by Mr. Boder. Do I have a second? And I got a second by Mr. Scheip. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. And we have an approval on the consent calendar. Our first item here is presentations. This is item number 6. We have the Brainerd History Group presentation. Do we have someone who'd like to come forward? Very good. Then I'm going to open our little public forum here for this item and allow us to have testimony by our wonderful friends here in tow tonight. Thank you very much for coming.
Hi, everybody.
Aye.
My name is Holly Holm. I work for Visit Brainerd. Want to introduce yourself?
Carl Faust, Brainerd History Group.
So Carl and I joined together after many years of working together closely with the Brainerd History Group. We created our own group just because we needed a place to put funds that we are currently fundraising for. Long story short, we have a pretty good team here. We're working really hard. We do history tours through downtown Brainerd. That is mostly our fundraiser. We've recently received a grant from Brainerd Community Action. The money that we're raising is to go towards signage that we are wanting to put at local historical spots. That's Carl's passion. Right? I mean,
I have a list.
Yeah, he's got a lengthy list. So we are working on that. The next item on our list of signage that we are working towards is river signage, and I'll just let you talk about that.
Okay, until I ran into Troy down at the elevator down there, I wasn't 100% sure that the new Mississippi Landing or Trailhead goes under many names, but I wasn't sure that it was going to be a city park, but I understand it is, so it would go under your umbrella. And what we would like to do is kind of replicate something that Holly actually started. It was probably about when I first met her in 2017 for the Brainerd History Group, or Brainerd History Week rather. She set up a historic river paddle, and there were kayaks and there were canoes, and we had about 80 participants and 60 vessels, I suppose, and it went over really well. And it merely started at the cemetery landing and went to Kiwanis Park. Well, now with this new landing that we're going to have, we see an opportunity here. And the Smiles for Jake event on Saturday is going to be kind of a test run. So the folks at CTC and the Mississippi Headwaters Board got together and they created a map. And it was in yesterday's paper, and you can click onto that. But it's really cool because it's come to this. We don't carry maps anymore. We use the cell phone. And you can simply tap on this interactive map. And then Daniel out at CTC puts some points on the map. And then you click, if you want to do the historic part of it, you click on a layer just like you do on Google Maps, and you tap historic sites, and then you get to your first site, you tap on it, you get the whole history of that site, pictures, we can put 6 or 8 pictures on there, and as you go down the river, there you are. So what we'd like to do is put a marker or a sign probably right where the landing is, kind of like where the DNR signage would be. So when they get to that park and they've got canoe or kayak behind them, we want them to know about this. And it doesn't have to start at Cemetery Landing. They can start anywhere because they can read the thing, backwards. And the event this weekend is going to be a paddle up, go around a buoy at Cemetery Landing, and then back again. The first one's gonna be a race, and the other one's gonna be our historical casual paddle. So what we'd like to do is place a sign there, and it doesn't mention anything other than what I just mentioned. It'll be, of course, bigger than this, but there will be a QR code on there, as you can see, and that will lead them to that interactive map. And then with the dispatch's permission, I don't know if anybody's seen the 2021 drone video from last summer when the water was like 10 feet lower than it is now. And it was fabulous. I mean, we found several items that I kind of knew were there, but I couldn't find them because the water was too high, or now it was so low, I found out what it was there for. And there's also some very, very nasty navigational hazards in the river, and they're all pointed out. So whether the river is high or low, and I think that's very, very important, and you probably know the worst of the worst, just down off the, in Kiwanis Park there, where that pipe goes across the river about 3/4 way, and then those weights on there. So that's something that we can look into getting marked. So can I pass this around, or?
Yes, please.
All right, where do we start over here? Kim, you don't need. And then as far as marker, like Holly said, this is the first time we've ever had a source of funding. And it is from the Brainerd History Walks, and it's what we call the mini version, and we do charge $10 for it, and that was a little hard for me to grasp at first until she said, well, what about it? We use the proceeds for a nonprofit, and we gave some funding to the Historical Society, and then we hope to make about 16 similar signs like this. These will also be put on the river. So if you don't see the interactive map and you're paddling up or down, you will actually see the physical sign. So I probably need Troy and maybe the street department and whatnot to make sure that we're, putting a post or something on a tree that
And I
is
think
in the
that's one of
wrong
the
spot.
questions that we have today is, do we come to you for the signage on the river or in the river, or is that a DNR thing? Is it a partnership thing? We don't really know how to.
In other words, whose
first-
property are we on if we do
How do we
that?
tackle this?
I think probably just the only signs on our parks, I would guess, right?
Yeah, so if I may, yes, I think you're right. For us, the signage would be, if it's going to be in one of our parks, probably through us. If it's not in one of our parks, my assumption would be through the city engineer or through a city channel, most likely. DNR, possibly if it's on,
Yep.
if it's on the river, DNR then, yep. So,
So today, we can talk with you about signage at the new park,
correct, at Mississippi. Yep.
okay? Do you want to address those locations that you are
Well,
desiring?
well, like I say, we want this informational sign that's passed around that kind of explains that, and that gives them the QR code, but that has to be right where they're getting into the river. And then these, I only use this because you've probably seen these, there's one right out front there, I got 40 of these scattered around the town. And it would be similar to this, so they're just a coroplast. And believe it or not, the signs we have out here, even the one here that's kind of in the Western Sun, they were put up in 2017. So they're something like $14, maybe they're $20 now, but they hold up really well. And being they're plastic, I think they could be hit, and we might not use blue, we'll use like DNR green or maybe some of Troy's picnic table green or something like that. But they'd be printed a little differently. They'd probably be more long and narrow so they can sit on a single post. But we do have the funding to do this major sign. That might take up half of our funding, and then the rest of that grant money could be used to put about a dozen of these
Gotcha,
along the river.
very good.
We are just looking for approval.
Do we have, just stay up if you would, please, for a sec. I'm going to turn it over to you guys, see if you have any questions.
We have to follow our guidelines now as far as what the signs look like in each park, I would assume, right? As far as coloring and sizing, that kind of thing, to put this in before, in our locations, I would guess.
That'd be my understanding, Mr. Boulder, yes, is that we did pass a design standard for our parks last year, midsummer-ish, last year, something like that, and part of that is the signage. So I think that this board would be able to give you the approval to erect the sign, but I think that then we'd probably ask you to work with our city plan, probably James?
Sure.
I think we,
To ensure that the sign meets our design standards for the erection, the post, and the size, and all that kind of
we
stuff.
care about the content.
Correct.
we'll go with whatever rules.
But
you
we
guys
also
have in
care
place.
about the credits. You want the, as you
Yeah.
can see, the city of Brainerd.
Oh,
logos
absolutely,
on
and
there.
all that's all,
Historical
it's just
Society,
has to match the
that
coloring
sort
and
of
all,
thing.
you know, the
Yep.
signage, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Correct,
that'd
and
be
the
fine.
style of erection, the style of post and that, so that's my understanding. So I think that this board would be able to give you the approval to put the sign roughly where you want it, and then just turn you over to work with city staff to make sure that the sign meets our design standards, so. I don't know if we have a copy of the map available to us of the city of Trailside Park. If we could pull one up maybe off the website or somewhere, we might have one in somebody's bag here too, but you're basically saying you'd like it down by the landing, right, the new
Yeah,
landing that's
like,
getting
kind of like
built?
right before they get in the water.
Right
You-
before they
you see
get in
where
the
that
water,
aquatic
somewhere right there.
Species
Yep.
thing is.
Well, there are two other signs, though, that talked about Lyman Pugh White.
Well, it used to be called Lyman P. White Park, but that was in 1921. I don't know what it's officially going to be named, but I'm hoping that the two signs that were there, one talked about Lyman P. White, and then the other one talked about his son Almond in 1921 donated that land. So it's really kind of come full circle in 121 years going back to a park, and I think that's exciting. And Ashley did tell me on the green sign that looks similar to that, she said, don't put it in concrete because it'll probably move. Well, they moved, so I'm just wondering, will those be put someplace, you know?
Are they coming back?
Yeah, they're coming back.
Is who coming back?
Those two
Those two
signs that
signs.
were there.
So we think that, I believe that we have a sign location located near the main entrance, or we had talked about a sign location there, which is where the naming of the branding of the park would be, and that. And I don't know that we've discussed any signs beyond that, but I don't know any reason why we couldn't, approve your sign. If you look at the map here, you'll see, I believe the area that we're talking about here is on the top left-hand side. Yeah, kind of up in that neck of the, there you go.
Red squiggles.
There you go, in the red there, that's our landing going down. That's where you will access the water. That's actually our walk there.
Okay.
Our-
Well, I say wherever you have kind of an interpretive
Correct.
history area, all the history is on those two signs, so nothing
Right.
more need be done other than sink them in the ground.
Right.
Okay?
So my question for staff is, are we looking for a motion to approve the general placement of the sign today? Jennifer?
Yeah, and I think if you want to just direct the history group to work with us, we'll make sure that the sign meets the design standards that the park board had. And then my thought is we would bring that back to the park board for your final approval before they actually order the sign.
I love it. Does that work for you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, very good.
We'll just call that the motion then.
Yeah, very good. Anything else that you'd like to add before we?
Well, Holly promised me I couldn't say anything or ask any questions other than these two. However,
Carl will talk
In
all day long
my
about
experience,
history.
Holly gives fantastic advice, so,
no advice. But this is good news. As you probably know, I've got some other signage, I call them kiosks, and there's one in Gregory Park, under the
yep.
pavilion or whatever you call it there. And we haven't had much vandalism on that, just one time when they tried to use the plastic signage to burn the place down, other than that. And then, I understand, Troy, that we had someone crack the plexiglass, but they're taking care of that, the one out at Lum Park. But working with Dave Bedeau, he's our mayor, he always wanted to have a history of Memorial Park. And I've always wanted to have a history of the park out there when it was a lumberyard first and then a mill and 9 other things, brickyards and all that. So we have a donor to donate the actual kiosk, and that's Levon Danzel, same one that donated the one in Gregory Park. And then I'll come up with 6 panels on there, and we should have it's going to be a very, very busy sign, but we will try to make it unbusy. But anyway, we're going to try to get at least the kiosk up now, and then we're going to have all winter to get the history part of it done. So
Very
that should
good.
be showing up
Cool,
soon.
thanks.
Thank you.
for that.
Kim, did you capture the motion that was made by Mr. Boder? Want to give it one more crack just to make sure we got this right, Mr. Boder?
Well, we certainly have the approval to go ahead to put it onto the history as well as the city council. I'm not sure who to go to. After Park Board, well, after Park Board. And then we'll just do, once the sign has been put together, we'll come back for final judgment. I guess that would be.
Very good. So we got a motion to approve the sign placement with probably final placement and design to come back before us. That work?
I think you had mentioned there's a Lyman White sign along the trail.
They were
Well,
closer to the street.
They were right where the big sign was that pretty much looked like that, who put that up, the designers?
It'd be our engineers on the
Engineers. So you
project.
had
Yeah,
that
well,
big
the
sign.
Mississippi Landing
It
Trail
was
had
within
their
10
own
feet
there.
of those two signs. So they're sitting someplace, I just don't know where.
They may have just been, they were temporary signs to be moved during the construction, so.
Yep.
Oh, I thought there was like an informational sign on the
There,
sidewalk.
They were.
there is, and I believe that it's going to be replaced at somewhere right around the main entrance there.
Cool.
So,
Okay, yeah, that's already, that was my only thought.
Yeah, they just tell the whole, one of them tells the whole story about Lyman P. White, how he got here in 1870 and all that. And then the other one tells the story, and the reason that came later and not on the first sign is we just found out about this Lyman P. White thing and getting donated to the city after the first sign was done, so it's kind of an addendum.
all right, fantastic. So we do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second shape.
All right, we got a second by Shipe. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Very good. Looks like you're going to get your sign.
Thank you.
Jennifer, will you please just give them an idea of what kind of their next steps are to pursue this and how they're going to bring this forward and who to talk to?
Absolutely. If you guys just want to reach out to me, we do have a new city engineer starting on Monday. So I'll figure out who's going to kind of oversee this and move forward, but you can just contact me and I'll take it from there.
You got it.
Super.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thank you for what you
Thanks
do.
for your time.
Yeah, no kidding, thanks so much. You want your little map thing, Matt?
Very good. We'll be moving on now to item number 7. This is our unfinished business. The first item on our agenda here is 7A. This is considered the placement of the trees for 2022. Sorry, Mr. Sandy, you are coming up.
I know.
But it'll be a sec. So I believe that my presenter here is Ms. Bergman, City Admin. Take it away, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you recall, the Park Board did discuss placement of trees at your June meeting and discussed, first of all, having each Park Board member bring back 5 trees and the placement of those trees for this meeting. However, staff did do some research on the availability of trees, and unfortunately, the only thing that's available right now are maples. So as we discussed at the June meeting, Lum Park lost at least 45 trees, and those were the trees that were just lost due to storms. There are also some others that need to come down. So staff discussed it internally. Our recommendation was to purchase maple trees for Lum Park for 2022, and then bring back a discussion for you on a long-term plan for tree placement. We would work with James Krombeck, who is our tree inspector, and also a landscape architect, so really has a good understanding of types of trees, where to best plant them, and what locations. And then our plan would be to also incorporate the 5 trees that you had discussed bringing back. And then at the September meeting, come back to you with an overall plan that you can react to on trees, placements, and which parks. So after meeting with Commissioner Yeager and Chair Rushmeyer, we had kind of discussed that maybe there are 2 options here. One is we could order trees up to $25,000 for placement for this year, but we know they're only maples. And then we could start to replace trees in Lum Park. But the discussion was, you're really in the middle of a master plan. And so maybe there may be some benefit to waiting and getting through all of your master planning for your parks, as well as this kind of permanent tree placement plan for the future. So the other option for you would be to postpone ordering and planting trees until the Park Board completes both of those. And then those funds, I did talk to our finance director, and those funds can be moved into 2023. So you would have potentially $50,000 for trees in 2023. Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions for staff? All right, no questions for staff. I'll open it up for discussion amongst ourselves. We got kind of 2 options in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, if it is available to wait and have $50,000 next year, we may be able to get more than just maples and twice as many as we need. So I don't know why we would even push for this year.
Very good, thank you. Tim, any thoughts, Mr. Shipe?
Very similar. I think let's not tie ourselves into one type of tree in case I'm sure there's maple diseases. So yeah, I'd rather be a little bit more thoughtful about what we do.
I don't disagree at all, and I think especially because we're nearing, not at the end of our growing season for this summer, but there's not a lot of growth to be squeezed by planting them here in late August or something like that, and when we could just plant them all in the spring and have a little better idea. So I'm in agreement with where you guys are thinking that we just hold off, get through our master planning, and maybe have just a little better strategic idea of where we want our trees, and maybe have more ability for other species come next spring. So not sure that that'll happen, but it sounds like we will have more options.
And the crew needs time. I mean, they've got a few different eggs in their basket to go through and get all these trees picked up and everything else going on. So let them have a chance to regroup and get reset up again.
Yeah, plenty of other stuff to do for sure. So, do you need a motion on this, Jennifer?
I think direction is just fine. I am clear on that direction.
Very good. All right, unless there's anything else, we will continue on to item 7B. This is to discuss and approve Kiwanis Park restroom and pavilion improvements and alternates. Mr. Sandy, a representative of WSB, as well as our proud city of Brainerd. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in front of you tonight is, at the direction at the last meeting, the park board wanted to get some add alternates for our Kiwanis Park project. As you recall, there's about $32,500 left over in our budget for the two upgrades that we're doing in that park at the restroom and the pavilion. We got some pricing on the 5 direction items, I believe it was 5, that the park board wanted to get pricing on. And in the attachment, you can see those prices. What we are recommending after talking with Troy, the maintenance staff, and what kind of the biggest needs are in that building, we're recommending that we take alternate 2, option A, which is replacing the existing mounted toilets and urinals with new toilets, utilizing existing carriers, replace the existing flush valves, and then all the lavs and sinks in the bathroom. That was a cost of $13,040. We were recommending that we take alternate 2, option D, which is a new water heater, I believe. That was $2,650. Option 3, or alternate A, or 3, option A, new rain gutters and downspouts for a cost of $1,500. Add alternate 4 and option A, which is new LED light fixtures in the restroom, and alternate 5, new steel roof on restroom for $11,800. Total of $31,630. That's what we're recommending. We did check into the floor. I know the epoxy floor came into question last time. That floor is already epoxied in that bathroom, so we don't have to redo that. So they didn't provide pricing for that. That's our recommendation. That gets us really close to our budget number, and gets us a little more than what we thought we could get done.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Does anyone have any questions for Paul?
2 questions.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Shipe.
Given some of the vandalism that's been happening lately, are there, especially the toilets and sinks, it seems like a lot of the vandalism has been in bathrooms, and the fixtures themselves don't seem to have been affected, but are there changes we could make to that bathroom to make it more resilient? Is that just, I mean, at some point, stuff is going to get just, like, I get that, but it was just popped into my head with the combination.
Not that I know of. I mean, it's just, I think, the nature of owning public restrooms. And
it goes.
Unless, I don't know. I don't think there really is. I mean, try to vandal-proof as much as you can when you put the buildings up. But, there's protective coatings you can put on the outside of buildings for spray paint and things to help it wash off easier. But I'm not aware of anything for, like, toilets and things that actually can help that situation.
The fixtures in that, that really can't be, the porcelain. But as far as restrooms go, the Kiwanis restrooms with the block dividers instead of panels, the rough face on the outside is, it's susceptible to graffiti just like anything, but it's a lot easier to get it off that because we can sandblast, whereas we can't the smooth block. So as far as restrooms go, Kiwanis, short of, getting the steel doors and stuff replaced, it's been vandalized, but it's pretty bulletproof compared to like some of the new restrooms we got with the steel dividers, the thin ones that are just bolted to the wall. We have a little more trouble with those because they can get leverage and stuff on them, but you start putting cement wall dividers between the restrooms, there's not much they can do. So in that respect, with Kiwanis, we're in pretty good shape.
Cool. Thank you. And then just the total is very close to our overall amount. Are there concerns that supplies might increase in price and we'd go over, or just
No, I think once we sign the quote, we're locked in. So I think they gave us 30 days, so I think we're good.
Awesome.
They'll order the materials and lock us in.
Cool. That was it for me.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? All right. If not, I guess we would be looking to make a motion on this, or just break it apart hypothetically in separate items. If we wanted to, we could approve and not approve some of these others, or have open discussions on anything we think we might have missed. But I guess I'm going to turn it over to you guys to see if you can fashion some type of forward progress here.
Well, Troy or Jennifer, any of you have any qualms or issues at all? Does this all make sense to you guys? I mean, you're the ones dealing with this most of the time anyway, so. It's all good?
Yes, I'm happy with it.
I'm happy to see us going the direction of the, I think, great thoughts with the gutters, downspouts, also the metal roof. That's seems like it's going to be money well spent.
Follows
so.
the standards, and we can make it look all the same.
Yeah, very good then. All right.
I move to approve staff recommendations for the Kiwanis building.
We have a motion to approve all of the 1 through 5 staff recommendations. Is that right, Mr. Shipe? Yeah, on the Kiwanis building. Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
All right, we've got a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Approved. Disapproved, same sign. Looks like we got it. So, very good. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, we're going to move on to item C. This is the update on the Mississippi Landing Trailhead Park construction. This is you as well, Mr. Sandy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Probably should have put these in an opposite order, but I'll just go through it with this being last with a couple of change orders coming up here. But
We can move it real quick if you'd like.
nah, it's all good. There's
Okay.
just some, items listed in the update that are kind of contingent on the other stuff getting approved, but
Very
it's
good.
not a big deal. Progress is happening at the park. You would see that the road got all tore out. They started putting in the storm sewer this week into the roadway, started grading and doing some of the roadway improvements and bringing that soil into the park, which was part of the project plan, and raising the park up and kind of flattening the road out so it's all kind of one level. If you kind of recall, there was a big drop off from the road to the potential park site. So they started doing that. If you go over there right now, you'll see a huge difference in what it kind of looks like down there because of that grade difference. It's actually kind of weird walking through there. Some of the items that the contractor has completed to date are listed in the memo. They, obviously cleared and grubbed all the trees, erosion sediment control. All the removals are complete. Foundations for the amphitheater and the learning center were poured and backfilled. The helical piles, so the structural elements for the river overlook, have been driven into the ground. The park excavation and fill activities have started, and they've actually gotten a long way on those. They've started roadway excavation, installation of the water main, the water service, the sewer service, the hydrant relocation. That's all been done. So kind of the underground utilities that come off the mains and ran to the restroom are all kind of complete. Some of the planned activities, you'll start seeing some big changes out there here in the next month. They plan on continuing site grading excavation. The storm sewer install, structural steel delivery for the river overlook is planned for the week of August 11th. So they'll put structural steel in and then pour that monolithic slab that kind of juts out over the river. The amphitheater and learning center, precast concrete columns and beams will start getting erected in August. And then the bathroom structure foundation will likely start getting put in. And so you'll start seeing some things come out of the ground, maybe some flat work starting to get done, like in the amphitheater and things like that, where they're not going to be messed with when they're putting up the amphitheater structure. I put a cost update down at the bottom there, just for reference where we're at. One thing that we noticed when we were filling out the LCCMR reporting documents is that the city council actually committed $100,000 to this project back when the grant, the LCCMR grant, was getting filled out, and that was in the documents, and Connie found the minutes. So we actually have about a $2.95 million budget. So it makes things look a little bit more skewed than what they were. That was, Connie pulled the minutes, I don't remember when it was exactly, but it was when they were applying for LCCMR. So there is an additional $100,000 sitting out there that the city committed to. Canoe kayak launch update, I'll just leave that for when we get to the next item. If there's any questions about that in general, otherwise we can move on to the next one.
Any questions?
I think it should look pretty cool in a month from now. Should be seeing a lot.
Yeah,
of-
you'll
lot
be
of
seeing a
changes.
big change. Right now, it looks kind of just like a war zone, but in a couple weeks, you'll start seeing some buildings go
I
up.
have a quick question. The $100,000 from the city council, what budget did that come out of?
It was MIF funds is what it was labeled as. And
Okay.
so some funds we received from the state, I'm not sure exactly, the finance director would be able to answer that question, but she did find the minutes and pull that up. And that was a commitment that the city made either in kind or through funds to utilize towards that project.
Very good. So hypothetically, if we didn't use it, I guess that's where I'm going with this. What is the mechanism to get it returned, get it, what? So if maybe we could ask Connie to just kind of dig into what that might look like, because we are still operating with a surplus on this project. So
A substantial
just my
surplus.
opinion only, but if we don't need to use the money,
Exactly.
we
Why
give
use
it
it?
back.
You don't have to.
Give it
Or
back.
if we're required to, that might be
Or
part
if
of
we're
the.
required to, and that's where I'm
Yep.
going with this, is what the connections to that money might be, or what our obligations might be. Thank you. If nothing else, please continue on, Mr. Sandy.
All right, so the next item is MLT Park Change Order 4. So the first three change orders, if you'll recall, they consisted of the precast change order that we had. We had the bathroom change order, which moved to a block structure, and then we had more of an administrative change order that we approved. That was just changing some items from a measured quantity to a planned quantity. A lot of our excavation items that you can't necessarily go out in the field and measure because they're just moving it bucket load by bucket load. That's all just planned quantity now, so that was just an administrative item. Change order 4 is for the addition of the canoe kayak launch back into the plans. So you'll recall you two were in the PMT meetings in the original design. We had a canoe kayak launch. There were some issues with getting the DNR permit prior to the plans going out to bid. So at the last minute, we ended up pulling that portion of the project out just because we couldn't guarantee that the contractor would be building that without a permit. Through the last month and a half, 2 months, whatever it's been, I've been working pretty closely with the DNR. Finally got a permit in place, which was a miracle. And they are allowing us to build the canoe kayak launch as designed. And so after that point, we went to the contractor, asked him for pricing on that canoe kayak launch. Really includes just a bunch of excavation, placement of permeable pavers down to under the ordinary high water level. So if you've been out on the site, you'll see there's kind of a second shelf down below the kind of the steep bank, and that canoe kayak launch will go right down to that second shelf. So right down basically to the water level. Right now, you'd have to walk over a little bit of mud to get your canoe in the river because the river's still pretty low. But at least it gets you down low enough to when the water is at a reasonable level, you will be able to access the river right from the launch. That's about as low as we could get it with the DNR. Contractor submitted their pricing for that work, $63,685. And so we're asking for approval of that number. We think there might be some room for us to negotiate that down still with the contractor. We got to have some more conversations with them regarding the supporting documentation and things that they've had. But we would like just the approval up to that amount so that we can know that we can move forward with that before, in the next month, we're getting short on time for the projects.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Any discussion or question for Mr. Sandy's regarding the launch?
We're still ahead on financial money, so we got plenty of room for wiggle room for the approval of this, correct? Because it's already
Yeah,
been
so-
approved except for the small increase.
Yeah, under the MLT project update memo, you'll see kind of if you approve all three change orders tonight, that's kind of where we're at, total project. So right now, if you are to approve the next three change orders, your project funds remaining is around $580,000.
Okay.
Thank you and
Mr. Scheit, please.
your persistence in getting this sorted out.
It took a new person coming to the DNR and kind of understanding what we were working with, what the purpose of it was. The accessibility portion was the big hang up, and that's what we really promoted, is that yes, we have a launch in Kiwanis Park, however, be it very inaccessible to people with different abilities. So that's kind of the reason it got done.
Very good. Well,
Nice.
thanks for taking that on, for sure. All right, any other discussion? If not, I'm looking for a motion to keep us moving on this one as well, guys.
Move to approve change order 4.
Got a motion to approve change order 4. Do we have a second?
Absolutely, second.
Yeah, we got a second by Mr. Boder. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. Next, on to our next one, Mr. Sandy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So change order 5. So we've had quite a few discussions about this restroom building. The start of the project, if you sat in on the PMT meetings, we were moving towards a prefabricated restroom building. Well, as we moved through procurement and looking at schedules, this prefabricated building wasn't available, I think, until like 2023, sometime in the middle of the year. And at the time, the contractor was offering just to build a block-built structure, much like you see at Kiwanis Park. So they put together a drawing and they put together a price, pricing it with fixtures that you might see standard in the prefabricated building. At the time, we brought that change order forward just so that we could get that process moving with building permits and things. We've been working with Travis Miller at TWM Architecture to grab the design standards and make sure that the finishes and the fixtures and everything match what you guys have already adopted. When we brought that back up to the contractor, there was some adjustments that he had to make. I do have a list of those. If you guys are interested, I can kind of run through that. But basically, this change order is taking what we had already approved in that bathroom block structure of like 32,000 addition on top of what was already there, and changing it, basically everything in that building to the parks design standards. And so I know there were some questions on what those are and why the changes are expensive. The fixtures are actually quite minimal. There's a few items on there that ended up being more. So this total list is, so one was omitting the mirrors. Obviously, we don't want mirrors in the restrooms because they're the first things that vandals go after. Toilet paper dispensers at the Memorial Park project, we had those put in by our staff. PVC ceiling to a gypsum ceiling. So in Memorial Park, you'll see that we have gypsum ceilings instead of PVC. Contractor had originally priced those with the PVC kind of riveted panels on the ceiling. That was an addition of $2,800. Omit the wall air vents, so he took away $600 for that. There was a change from the asphalt shingles to the steel roof. That was an add of $5,880, so that was a large portion of that change order. The plumbing adjustments, which are what I was kind of thinking this whole change order was for, that only equated to about $945. Okay. So that includes flush valve sensors, flush power kits, lab faucets to Delta faucets, water heaters, a switch to a different manufacturer, all that kind of stuff. Total of $945 there. We changed the top cord to a timber truss for $1,150, and adding insulation to the remainder of the attic over the utility closet for $845. Some of the other big changes, we changed from a 100 amp electrical panel to a 200 amp. We added 5 emergency backup lights, and then we added mechanical venting instead of the bottom door louvers like we had in the original drawing.
Right. So they originally came back with a number from the difference from the concrete building to this. It sounds like there's some changes, but they just kind of missed a couple things also. They're kind of getting those into the list. They just didn't quite have it all sorted through. So,
right.
But you have the list broken down, and you've examined the list as it sounds like Mr. Miller has as well. So as suspected, it was more than just plumbing fixtures. And this is the delta between the two. So any questions for staff, or excuse me, for Mr. Sandy on this one? Please, Mr. Shipe.
Having heard Troy's feedback earlier, I forget the construction of the interior. Are they cinder block dividers inside, or are they the metal?
These are all separated restrooms, so they're actually 4 different rooms.
That's right.
Yep, because we planned for that. Precast structure was like 4 separate restrooms, and so we kept that design, same size, same footprint, just built structure instead of a divider and all that kind of stuff. So you'll be able to lock the door when you go in.
Very good. Anything else? All right, same thing, guys, looking for a motion on this one or some direction?
We're just looking for a motion on change order 5,
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
and so moved.
Second shape.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. Looks like we got, what do we got? One more? Item 6 here?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this last one was just a field modification we had to make. With the hydrant relocation on the project, we had to add some additional pipe, and I believe there was a valve involved in that. Total change order cost $2,435.90. We have to go back and look at this yet, but on typical like road reconstruction projects, we would build these back to BPU, given it's on their water system, and I'm not sure how that'll work with this project yet. I'll have to work with the city
I say we build
administrator.
BPU.
Yeah, it's only fair. They owe you anyway.
Absolutely.
But we typically get reimbursed or, have them cover the portion of those project costs, given we added a new valve and some new pipe to their system, and so it's an asset that they recognize. And so, typically they're the ones that pay for that, but.
Very good. Technically, technically the taxpayers
Everyone
pay
pays.
everything, whether it's, but anyways, into the weeds we go.
Add it to your bill.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Any questions for Mr. Sandy on this one? No, sounds good. Need a motion on this, if we please.
Move to approve change order 6.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Boder. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And there we go. Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Unless you have anything else, we're going to move on to new business, which we have none, which will bring us to the public forum. Public forum is a time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the board. Time limits may be imposed. We're going to open the public forum at 4:41 and bring forward anyone who would like to speak. When you come up, if you would be so kind as to state your name and your address and tell us who you are and what you have to say. And
I'm Brian Ross with the Brainerd Kiwanis Club and chair and board members here to ask a few questions about the project approval. When do you anticipate the construction of the Brainerd Kiwanis Park amenities, new things?
So I'm going to allow something to happen here I wouldn't normally allow. I'm going to allow banter between somebody in a public forum as well as Mr. Sandy. So, Mr. Sandy, if you could grab one of your old chairs right there and a microphone, you know what to do, and we're just going to let this go here. So hopefully we can answer some questions. If you're uncomfortable or something doesn't seem right, by all means, we'll take back over here. But
I don't trust him.
there you go. You're a great judge of character. Very good.
So schedule hasn't been really solidified yet. I know Kim was asking the same question for like rentals and things. So we just got the contract signed by Barato Brothers. We're going to add these ad alternates on that were just approved tonight. And so I anticipate that they'll start as soon as they kind of get all the materials procured and things going. I think it'll kind of depend on when they can get items in stock and ready to put in. But I can assume that they would start, as soon as they are ready with materials. So within the next month, maybe.
Okay.
And it might be just here and there, as items come in, they might put the roof on one day, or it's not going to maybe be all at once.
Sure. So, I mean, they didn't give any schedule or
Not
anything
yet.
at this?
No,
that time?
no, 'cause we
Because
just
you
got
have the
contracts
contract,
signed.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's good. That's understandable. Just kind of curious there. The other thing is, there's through Kiwanis International, there's a competition to get playground equipment I just found out about. We're going to learn more about on August 10th. But so I'm going back to kind of the master plan. I know the board and Paul had worked toward thinking about and I don't know if it was replacement of the playground equipment at Kiwanis Park or new addition.
Yes, and I believe you'll have if you have your master budget there in front of you, but I want to say 28 is what was ringing a bell to me. I could be off on that, but
2028. Okay.
Yeah, I believe
okay.
so. Yeah,
Okay.
and don't quote me on that, please,
Sure.
anyone in the room. But I believe that's when it was. Perhaps somebody could pull it up, but we do have it set out into the future at some point. Yes.
So is that a full replacement then, or is
would
that
be a full replacement,
Full replacement.
correct, yep.
Okay. Just because to get new, better.
Do you have it by chance?
better equipment or make it more accessible type of thing?
So when we did a park evaluation on Kiwanis, I can speak to what's ringing a bell for me, and that is it's a lot of the rubberized coatings were coming off of the steel components. We felt like there were some safety issues beginning to kind of crop up, as well as a move towards more ADA usability on our new playground equipment. But please, Mr. Shipe, 1 sec.
2026,
There we go, 26. I was off by a little
2026,
bit,
okay.
but 26 was the year, and do you have the number there?
80,000.
There you go, 80 grand in 2026 is what we've got
80,000,
tentatively
okay.
set aside.
Is that
Yes.
what you found as well, Kim? I saw you found, okay, thank you.
So is that similar size then? Is that what we're kind of looking at and that type of thing?
What I can say is we just worked through our master planning on Kiwanis already, and the board as a group decided to keep the playground equipment basically where it was. I think the changes that would happen, my understanding, this is only me talking here, but the changes would be if we change out the equipment, it would be color coded to our design standards. So the color scheme would most likely change to our standards, as well as, again, a move towards ADA usability on at least a portion of the playground equipment.
Sure, okay. So this competition, it's through the whole country, and I think it's for $25,000, but it's paid for by a playground manufacturer who provides the equipment, that type of thing. Do you have a name of playground manufacturers that you use or anything?
Yeah, we go through
Something recreation.
St. Croix.
St. Croix
you go.
Recreation, and
St.
then
Croix
the
Recreation,
supplier
okay.
is BCI Burke.
Doesn't necessarily mean we would have to
right.
use them or be pigeonholed to use them.
Right.
So as long as the playground equipment kind of met our design standards, and we could put staff together and give you kind of an idea of what that is, and then
Sure.
liaison between you and that playground equipment provider to see if there is a fit. I don't see any reason why we couldn't use them. So.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm here and ask the questions, because we were bringing back to the Kiwanis board and the members. We were thinking, well, we better get going for next year, but that gives us some time to kind of think about it too.
And we certainly don't have to wait till 2026 to get a
Absolutely.
$25,000 grant.
That's correct. So
Okay.
if the timing, and we've had this come up also just recently with some folks at Buffalo.
Okay.
The budget that is out ahead of us is always open for review, rediscussion, moving
sure.
items back
Yeah,
and forth. That's
yeah.
one of the reasons we're working on our master planning, is we think that our budget just doesn't align with our master planning. So
Sure.
but tentatively right now, we've got 80 grand set aside in 2026 to redo that playground equipment.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll find out more about the competition, and we kind of report back to you. Probably try to make the August meeting.
That'd be fantastic. And thank you so much for everything that you guys do, and just for wanting to invest in our
welcome.
parks.
I appreciate it,
We
Mr.
love having you guys as partners, so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir, one more question, please. Mr. Shipe?
So
sorry.
we have had some discussions lately about, I forget the name of we got a bunch of money from the federal government, and playgrounds, I think, are one of the things we're looking at. So if there's a chance for us to match or make it easier to get that grant,
Sure.
we'd definitely be interested in those
Great. Yeah, that's a good point. That'll help us obviously in the competition if we say the city's is on board looking to replace it and would be willing to step up to match funds or whatever we do there. So great. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's what's great about park board meetings. You just have somebody come up, open forum, talk with staff. Everybody's happy, gets along. We talk about playgrounds and sunshine and trees. Not all city meetings. In case you don't know, not all city meetings go that way.
Trees that fall down.
But what I do love about park board meetings is they generally do. So thank you very much. Anybody else online? Anybody that would like to chime in on the public forum? And I'm seeing a head shaking, so I'm going to close the public forum at 4:48, and we are going to move on to board member reports, and I'm going to start at my right with Mr. Shipe, if you have anything, sir.
Nope. Oh, actually, one thing. Katie, I know you had mentioned for the Pumpkin Festival and Easter Egg Roll that you wouldn't mind having board volunteers at your events. If there's anything we can help out with for the last dance of summer, just let me and the board know.
Absolutely. Call to the public for helping out with the Last Dance. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Shipe. Yeah, anything else? Mr. Boder?
Nothing, I'm
Anything
shy.
to add? All right, I'm gonna, the only thing I'm gonna say is, I drive by I drive by our splash pad a lot, and that thing is going all the time.
Yeah.
So kudos to everyone that is a part of that and continues to use it. It certainly seems, as well as the pickleball courts, and Memorial is just a buzz with activity. So that's all I have to add. We're going to move over to staff reports. Who's starting on this? We're going to go to Ms. Bergman, please, first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Just a couple of updates. First of all, we've gotten a few requests from Rotary that I just kind of wanted to bring you in the loop on. One request has been a discussion about the potential of solar panels in Rotary Riverside Park. We're going to be having a discussion internally next week to talk about that, so just wanted to let you know that discussion is taking place. And then another request that they've made is there is that, what is it called? A concrete gateway building located in Rotary Riverside Park that Rotary is very interested in having, instead of BPU tearing it down when they're doing the river crossing, they're interested in having that building be able to be used for an observation area. So I bring this to your attention for a couple of reasons. We've talked internally, and I know I've heard you say several times over the past couple of years, is that these are great things, right? I mean, wonderful things. We're adding amenities to our park. But the thing to be aware of and to be cognizant of is if we do these things, there is a cost for replacement down in the future. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that those two discussions are taking place, both things in Rotary Riverside Park. So stay tuned. We'll bring something back to you when we have more information, but just thought I'd let you know that those discussions are happening. Secondly, Board Member Shipe mentioned the ARPA funds. Our plan is to bring back some information for you to discuss at your August meeting on ARPA funds. So the City Council will be talking about that on October 11th in a special workshop. So start to have the Park Board talking about this, start in August. That gives you September, to finalize it if you feel like you needed an extra month to do that. Third, the question that we have of the Park Board is, would you be willing to, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Katie or Troy, willing to move your Park Board meeting up in August 1 week? Your meeting is August 30th. However,
August 23rd, we verified. August 23rd, we're good. I talked to Connie.
I didn't even have a chance to talk to, we just literally talked about this. Scratch that, never mind, we are good to go. Just need to be able to make the timeline for the budget.
Understood.
Which needs to go to the council by September 1st, or to the city. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you, unless you have questions of me.
Any questions? Very good. Thank you, Ms. Bergman.
Jesse starts on Monday.
Yay, 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 yay.
Congratulations to you.
And we get him all day Tuesday, right? Who's got him all day Monday?
Paul gets him all day Tuesday. I get him half the day Monday, and HR gets him the other half of the day Monday.
Poor guys like a tug of war rope ready.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Then Connie gets them for the next 4 weeks. Good budget.
Very good. Ms. Kaufman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My updates, I'll try and keep quick. Last week we had a splash pad photo shoot where Aquatics, they came and basically provided everything. Like, they had a photographer, they gave away free gift cards for those registered. I just facilitated the registration. 50 children showed up, and we'll have some free advertising out of it. So that went really well. Sportsmanship and umpire retention. I'm just bringing it to your attention. It's been an ongoing issue this summer. I don't know if it's the weather or situations or the schedule or whatever, or just the times, but we are having some issues between players and umpires, players and players, trying to figure out a way to bridge that gap of consistency and communication of the two. So just something to be aware of.
May I interject real quick?
Sure.
Yes, I was going to come back to you.
Okay, but as a, ruin people's lives umpire, and like Katie put on the very bottom of her note there, payment is not a big issue for most umpires. I mean, we don't care if we get paid at all. It's just nice to get paid. However, the city of Brainerd, whether it's a dumb, stupid charter thing, whatever it is, the city of Brainerd is the only city in the state of Minnesota that pays their umpires as employees. The only one. So we lose umpires from other towns because we have to take taxes out. We have to file the claim for that kind of stuff. I can only work one night a week because I can't make too much money through the city of Brainerd. So I venture my umpires' ability to other cities 4 nights a week, as well as weekends.
They pay in beer nuts, cash, what?
Strictly cash.
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 And as far as the government knows, we don't get paid at all.
Okay.
But that's, so I'm not sure why. I mean, for my 11 years on this silly board, I've complained about this every year and we can't do anything about it. And it needs to be done because we can't find any umpires. The ones that we have now aren't that great anyway. And the ones that and we're losing the ones that we do have. And something needs to be done, and taking that 12%, whatever the number is for taxes that we don't have to file, would only be it's the only way to get more umpires back into town or whatever. And like I said, I'm not sure why Brainerd's the only town in the state. I umpire anywhere between St. Cloud and Bemidji.
Would it be that the other towns are running their softball by association, not as, okay, very good.
Right. So whether it's, I'm at Whitney Park in St. Cloud, town of 65,000 people, they have a person that they write the checks out to, and he writes the checks to the individual umpires or pays cash, whatever it might be. Zero government.
Right. So in your mind, this is a dynamic of payment and that kind of thing is
Correct.
leading to this. Does that, if I may continue this discussion, does that have anything to do with the ejections and the sportsmanship and that kind of thing? What do you see going on there?
Well, before I'll turn it back to Katie, same thing. A lot of it is the ejection sportsmanship stuff. We have umpires that probably wouldn't be here doing a lot of this but we've lost a lot of our good umpires. So we have umpires that are not all that crisp, if you want to say, and then they're burnt out because they don't have an extra night off. We can't just put a rotation where you need a night off. Fine, just take the night off, take a break, go play on the lake for the day. We don't have enough people that are involved with that because we have every night we only have 3 people for 3 umpires or for 3 fields 4 nights a week. Bang, 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 bang. And if they have a bad mood or they had a bad day, whatever it might be, they still have to perform as an umpire and try and get along with everybody. So the players get a little edgy because these umpires don't have a break, and the umpires are edgy because they don't have a break. So it's a bad tug of war, and like a lot of it, we lost our best umpire in this town just because he's of retirement age and he's built a camper, and because he's just like, I don't need to pay. I don't need the taxes on my fees for the year. So, and like I say, he was the best umpire we had, and we lost him. So,
Understood. Okay. Well, not to get off sidetrack, but any other questions on this?
Is there a code of conduct or anything that the team captain or the players sign that if they violate it, get into fights, they can't come back next year?
It states in our league rules, what is, what they can be ejected for. And yeah, I mean, do I want to implement something like that? I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but I mean, it's an option to do a code of conduct, but it does state in our rules, like, if you're swearing at the ump, if the ump feels threatened, they have the authority to bench you or kick you out of the complex. So.
Katie and I had an issue with last week with the same thing. We had one of our umpires ejected a player. I knew the player had to play the next night. So I called them both, and I had a meeting with Katie and the other umpire as well as the player the next day at the park. And the other umpire didn't even know that once he ejected the player that they were done for 10 days. So he's like, no, I don't want to have him skip 10 days. I just want to kick him out of the game. So it's tough to get that point across when they don't realize the point they're trying to make when they kick somebody out. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, like I say, Katie and I are the sportsmanship committee. But it didn't, one of those things where they didn't have to go to the sportsmanship committee. It was just the umpire just said, you know what, settle down, go home for the night, shake it off, come back tomorrow in a better mood. That would have been all we had to do. But there again, because he's edgy and he's overworked, not the greatest, umpire, it all kind of comes to a head that way, unfortunately, because we don't have enough staff. Just like every other business in this town.
Understood.
Yeah. So as far as the sportsmanship and umpire retention, I don't necessarily think it's the money thing. A lot of the umpires do it basically to help me. But something to look into if Tim has thoughts on possible solutions there. But again, I think it's just the societal change of players chirping, it being accepted, umpires told you need to have thicker skin, that type of thing. And it's just this compilement of that happening over and over. And I don't know. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to communicate that. And if it means more people are getting ejected or it's for longer periods of time, I don't know. But we're working on it. So that's where I'm at with that. Fall softball and kickball we're accepting registration for returning teams. New teams can start registering next week. Kind of a delay on that was just trying to figure out if I had enough umps for it. And then youth softball junior league all-star game is tomorrow night at Buffalo Hills, which was a collaboration. We had a meeting between the BBBA, community ed, volunteers, and ourselves, just on how we can make that work. Some background on that is community ed isn't necessarily supportive of all-star games, so they didn't want to be the ones running it. So we had to kind of do a makeshift, figure out a way to make it still happen because youth softball, they really wanted to bring that back. That was something they responded on the surveys, et cetera, just wanting that to come back. So we have a junior, and the reason why it's just junior league is because there was 5 teams, and the senior and petite had less teams than that, so they felt like they had enough teams where they could actually put together an all-star game where it wouldn't be every single player. It would be still an honor to make the all-star team. So that's happening tomorrow, 6 to 8. Excited for that. And then something that came up, just to keep you guys aware, and if you're in the public and people bring this up, common courtesy regarding when our staff gets fields ready during the day, like they line it, they drag it. It is common courtesy, and to our understanding that we would prefer the common public not to be on the field after we do that, whether it's shirtless bocce ball players or daycare moms that want to be on it. We would prefer that those fields remain untouched for the leagues that pay to use the fields. There are other options out there, so if someone does approach you, just say, there are other grass options or Gustafson or other parks they can utilize. So that's kind of our stance, and just wanted you guys to be aware of that. We did receive some, complaints regarding that this past month. The next thing I'd like to talk about is LED lights. Definitely in light of last night, we had 1 to 3 lights go out or stop working during a game on every single pole on field 2. So we did reset it, and they eventually did all come on, but it's an issue. And then even the 2 lights we replaced using the fire department this past week, those 2 lights aren't even working for some reason. At least last night. They might work tonight. They seem to be sometimes working, sometimes not. But some things I just want to keep it on your guys' radar. We really need to look at an LED plan of implementing those lights at fields 1 and 2. Would love you guys to just give some direction to staff on if you guys want us to go ahead and get bids to see what that would look like. 1 field, 2 fields. Just some direction.
This is Memorial?
Yeah.
Okay. So I could be wrong, but I believe that redoing the lighting on the existing 1 and 2 was one of our alternates for our rework at Memorial. So I think we had numbers at one time and we just didn't move forward with it. But I know early on in the discussions, we were looking at a number to update the lighting on those fields, but we might be able to dig that back up and kind of see what it was. But it was big. It was a big number.
Yeah, it really is. It's way overdue, but it's a big number.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just in loss of our field over at Mill Avenue and not having that field to even have backup, it is absolutely instrumental that we have lights, half a field of lights is just unacceptable to play on.
Yeah,
Can't
for
play.
sure. Might be something to think about with our COVID relief money, for sure.
Yeah.
I have contacted Holden's to look into, these lights are starting to nickel and dime us a little bit. The way we changed a lot of these light bulbs in the past is we used the fire department's ladder truck. Now with their new expensive ladder truck, it's too heavy, it's too big, they don't want to bring it out in the field, scared of getting it stuck. There's nothing else in this city that will reach our poles. Even Holden doesn't have a lift. Now, I'm not saying BPU, I would think maybe they might have something, but the trick is, I called the Musco Lighting, the company the lights came from originally. I know them lights are, well, they were here when I started, so I'm thinking they're over 30 years old.
Right.
I could look it up and find you exact number somewhere, but they've been hit by lightning so many times, and and now they're starting to lose ballast, capacitors, and everything you need to do to work on them, short of breakers, which we can do from the ground, we can do ourselves, but everything's right up 60 feet in the air, 70 feet, right up by the lights. Now, Holden is going to check. They have a lift that they can rent. I can't remember exactly what he called it, but it'll reach. But the way the lights are acting, I think they're going to have to go around to each one and test all the capacitors and all the ballasts and try to figure this out. And I don't know, that could be.
It sounds like we need a number on some lights. Can we direct staff to start the process of getting us some numbers on new lighting for fields 1 and 2, and then we can look at it from there?
Well, Troy, you're exactly right. I mean, it's a nickel diming, and it's been a nickel dime for 30 years. And and the worst part about the nickel dime is you don't know for sure when you hit the switch if they're all going to come on again.
I know.
So then we have to worry about pausing the games for an hour or more sometimes if they work at all, and then have to reschedule games if we can't get the lights to work. So it's an absolute embarrassment as a board member, because I get yelled at the most for it, that these lights still exist. We need to get a hold of Musco, we need to get a hold of whatever, get an LED put in. We're not going to build that fourth field eventually, I don't believe. So we have that money from that field that's never going to be used to put new lightings on field 1 and 2, and that has to be done fairly quickly.
Again, I am remembering that we did this research at one point when we started talking about Memorial, so the information might be there, easy to get if we dig back into it, but first step is knowing what it costs, so let's get some numbers. Let's figure it out.
Would you like the cost on what it would take to do both fields then, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Ideally broken apart, so we can see them piece by piece, but
Yeah.
there may be some economies of savings in doing them both at the same time. If you have a crew there and a lift and all that, doing them separately most likely will be more expensive than doing them both at the same time, but
But I'd also like to add that, those 1,500 watt metal halogen bulbs that we need for those are getting harder and harder to
Right.
find.
Right.
They're just old incandescents, and they're not cheap. It's just an outdated system.
well, thanks for bringing it to our attention. I mean, you guys are the boots on the ground. We don't know unless we hear from you, so step one's get us a price. We'll figure out if it's a need and figure out how to get it paid for.
I do have one additional thing that was brought up yesterday that I just want some clarification on. You guys previously approved kind of this, as far as our fee schedule with reserving fields. I was under the understanding of one thing, but we might have something differently marked down. As far as reserving a field, what exactly were you guys thinking with local entities for youth sports reserving a field at no cost? The reason why I bring it up is, we've waived fees for American Legion, ISD 181, VFW, Brainerd Baxter Baseball Association, despite there being some costs there for us. But there are other entities that are now coming forward. There's a MPFL, James Kern. It's, Minnesota Professional Football League, but it's for youth, and they want to use one of our soccer field at Memorial Park or JC's open grass area. It's for youth. They're not doing it for profit per se. It's, the kids pay for their padding and all that stuff. So it's not like James is making a profit on it. It's for youth, and I don't believe those two facilities would be used otherwise, and we want more people in our parks. The only thing that I would say is if they request for us to paint the fields, that there be a cost associated with that. But just want to know your guys' thoughts on that kind
I
of
can jump in
request.
if you'd like, based on my recollection. I would temper this by saying that might want to look at the minutes, just make sure that I'm remembering this correct. But if I remember our discussions on that, it was that, look, if somebody from the community wanted to come and use our fields, we would let them use their fields at no cost, as long as it didn't cost us anything. As soon as we took on cost with field prep or any work that needed to be done, then something else would have to be worked out. But it was my understanding that that was the basic premise of that, is that we wanted people in our fields and we wanted to be available to be used for free as much as humanly possible. If it's a for-profit, that's something entirely different, in my opinion. If somebody's going to make money off the event, they probably need to pay for the use. But Mr. Sandy?
I recollected from that conversation too that we defined local as like ISD 181 boundaries.
I'm
what
fuzzy
we-
on that, but that sounds about
that-
right to me, yes.
And I did ask him, are all these kids going to be coming from ISD 181? And he said there might be some kids from Pequot, there might be some kids from Pine River, because it is a traveling style, but he wanted to have a home for it in Brainerd. So that's where I'm a little fuzzy on what we'd like to do with fees.
It's a 501(c), not-for-profit?
I don't know. I know we're going to require them to provide their insurance, but I don't know if they're a nonprofit or not. But
Okay.
when I asked him about the fees, he said it's only to cover their jerseys and pads.
And then the soccer field or wherever the other location might be, are they using that for just practice, or are they actually
Yeah.
gonna play games there?
So my opinion would be, when they use it for practice, we wouldn't charge them the $25 to practice, because they say they don't need it lined, they're gonna use cones. We would normally be mowing it anyway. But if for a game, that's where I'm thinking $25 for a 2-hour, if their expectation is that we line it. So,
Yeah, I would say at least a 25 with plus the expenses, I would guess, right?
well, yeah, 25 plus the cost of paint.
And then, do we know the size of the field they're gonna have and the yardage, the width and the length? We have to learn, that's, I know it's early stages of this, but, do we have enough room in that soccer field? But then we lose our soccer field when they have their game.
Yeah, we're not kicking programs off for this, right?
No, we would definitely not be kicking programs off. But as far as I know, I'll have to check with the YMCA if they plan on doing a fall football at JC's. But they want to do it on Wednesdays and Saturday and Sundays. So I'll check with the YMCA, make sure we're not double booking there. But we already lined for the YMCA. Go ahead, Troy.
I guess it depends on if they want a professional, like hash marks all the way down the line, because if they want something just like the YMCA has, then easily we could do that for $25.
Yeah.
But if they want a full-fledged football field lined out,
No, I think they were fine with the YMCA. I mentioned that. He's like, that'd be perfect. But, you know, they also said, but if it's going to cost us extra to do that, maybe we just use cones. It's not a big deal. So.
Yeah, please.
Having a little bit of a flashback to the Charter Commission, but I think our intention was to benefit kids in the school district, and if it's mostly benefiting kids in 181 and other school districts in the area, I think that fits with our definition and our intention. So sounds great, and yeah, everything you said about covering costs if they want striping sounds great.
Yeah, come
Okay.
play.
You got direction?
I feel like I've got good direction. Yep. Thank you. And then I'll hand it off to Troy. Is there anything you want to
Thank you, Ms.
highlight?
Kaufman. Troy, please. If you have anything.
I just want to mention a few things. They started on the playground at J.C.'s Park now, so that's coming along nicely. And Becker Ice Arena is over. Started installing the boards on the smaller rink over Memorial. And the cops, the police have been helping quite a bit lately with the vandalism. We're still getting a certain amount, but they are making concerted effort to crimp down on it, and so far so good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Troy. Yeah, absolutely. Kudos out to our police department. I do see them out a lot in our parks. Of course, they do the lockup and all that. So publicly, thanks to Mike and the boys and everyone for helping us with that and keep up the good fight.
I think that lockup is the greatest thing we ever did.
Yeah.
They're right at dark, and it's brilliant. Keeps them, let them know that people are watching.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Without further ado, that's the end of our agenda here tonight. So you know what we need.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second check.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yeah, thank you. Opposed, same sign. And have a good night, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.